Does your child have an IEP? Then you've come to the right place. If you're a parent of a student with autism and they have special education services, then IEPs can feel overwhelming, intimidating, and frustrating. Why? Because you don't have the playbook. And that's exactly why we're going to change things right now. So inside this video, I'm going to show you how to do an IEP meeting if your child has autism and what to do step by step before, during, and after every single IEP meeting so you can advocate like a pro. Hey, what's up? I'm April Rarig, your special education advocate to make IEPs and 504 plans so much easier. If you're new here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button to get more videos like this in your inbox, and check us out on Instagram at Rise Ed Advocacy. Here's what you need to know about IEP meetings. Individual education plans, sometimes known as programs, are regulated under IDEA law. Here's the problem. As parents, we sit in an IEP meeting and there's a ton of paperwork flying around, and your team is not going to tell you what that means and how to advocate. And that's exactly why I'm so happy that you're watching this video. Case in point, let's talk about something called a prompt hierarchy. Why? Because if your child has autism, more than likely, they're going to struggle with a ton of things that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And you want your team to spell out how they're going to deliver those prompts and cues and what those prompts look like so it's the right amount of support for your child's needs. And that's exactly why I want you to check out my first free guide, the prompt hierarchy, that lays out tons of tools and resources so that when your team is talking about prompting and cueing with your child with autism, you're like, yes, I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this school, and your team cannot mess with you because you know exactly what to ask for and how to get it. Grab that link in the description box below. First things first, let's talk about what an IEP should include for a child with autism. Dr. Stephen Shore, a neurodivergent autistic advocate, had coined the most amazing phrase, and here's exactly what he said. If you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. What does this mean? This means that the IEP needs to be individualized and personalized based on your child's needs. It also means that just because your child has one unique learning need, all the other children with autism are going to have different needs. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the IEP needs to be built for your child. So the tips that I'm going to give you are going to be general tips for students with autism, but the bottom line and the thing that you need to know is you know your child the best. You've been on the IEP team the longest, so you've got a wealth of knowledge. That being said, most students with autism are going to need additional support in the following areas: social interactions, sensory integration, executive functioning, and emotional regulation. What am I saying? I'm saying that based on your child's unique learning needs, these are going to be the areas in general that your team wants to target and you want to look for and watch out for in your child's IEP if they have autism. What am I saying? Your IEP team needs to clearly spell out what they are doing and how they are delivering the specially designed instruction and all the other areas that they're addressing on your child's unique learning needs inside the IEP in the least restrictive environment, or what's called LRE. And that's exactly why I want you to check out my entire playlist about IEP meetings in terms of what they look like and how to prepare so that you can educate yourself and you fully understand your rights and the policies and provisions that your school must follow. Grab that link in the description box below. So now you know those key target areas to address in terms of your child if they have autism going to the IEP meeting. This brings us to my second point. How are you going to prepare for that meeting? So let me ask you something. Pro tip. When you walk in an IEP meeting, do you have paperwork that you submit before the meeting? Probably not. And this is exactly the 101 that you want to know from me as a special education advocate, is that you have to tell your team what you're asking for and why you want the team to review and consider your input. Remember, I talked about earlier that you know your child best, you're the wealth of knowledge, and you've been on the IEP team the longest. That's exactly why I want you to get my second free guide. It's a meeting day checklist, and it spells out 5 things that you want to bring and do before every single IEP meeting, because then when you walk in the door, you've told the team what you want, and then you're expecting for them to respond, and you can document your child's needs, and you can make sure that you get IEP drafts before the meeting, because pro tip, yep, you can get tons of information before you walk in the door at your child's IEP. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. So earlier I was talking about bringing paperwork to your child's IEP. And this is exactly where I want you to check out something called the meeting request template. So here's what I use it for. As a special education advocate, I have my parents submit what's called a parent letter of attachment before every single IEP meeting. Inside the template, it walks you through how you can communicate what your concerns are with your team, how to drive the IEP in terms of telling what your team wants to review and consider, how to get the drafts, and honestly, how to attach your input to the IEP meeting or the IEP meeting notice. It is a game changer, and it gets things turned around so fast for all of my families. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. So let's do a quick recap. We've already talked about what target areas to address and how to prepare before your child's next IEP meeting. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. What am I saying? What do you do if your school says no inside your child's IEP? What does this look like? This looks like if your team says, oh, well, we don't do that here, or, oh, the speech pathologist, they only offer this amount of service, or they only come on Tuesdays, or, oh, well, maybe we can talk about that later, or they don't even do anything when you ask for them to do something. So here's something your school is not going to tell you. Pro tip: when you submit a request regarding the identification, placement, or educational services for your child and your team says no, or if your school proposes a change in those same 3 areas, then your school needs to offer something called prior written notice, also known as PWN. More than likely, your school hasn't told you this. And this is exactly why I want you to know this. If your child has autism and you're a parent at the IEP table, know that you always have procedural safeguards, and you have the right and the ability to disagree, meaning you can put into writing and submit that request saying, I do not agree with the IEP, and that puts it into stay put status. More about this in just a minute. And this is exactly why I want you to check out my next video that spells out what to do if your school says no, and lays out tons of tools and tips and resources so that you fully understand how to meaningfully participate at the IEP table. Grab that link in the description box below. So we've talked about all of your prep work. We've talked about what you should expect for your child with autism in terms of the content and those targets. Now let's talk about how to end the IEP meeting. What am I saying? I'm saying that as a special education advocate and even as a school psych, I saw these following mistakes all the time. Parents would leave the meeting and they wouldn't get a copy. Parents wouldn't sign in disagreement, meaning if you live in a state where you don't require what's called dual consent, that means that your IEP, once it's done, it can just go into effect unless you submit in writing that you disagree, and that puts it into stay put status. So here's what I recommend. If you live in a state like California, or there's 3 other states where you have dual consent, you have the option to wait to sign, meaning you can look at the paperwork before things go into effect. But most other states, you don't have this option. So here's what you want to do. At the very end of the meeting, you're going to remind the team that you want to have a copy of the entire IEP and all the parts, and you want to have a digital and a hard copy. Then at the meeting, if your team is talking about, oh, we're not going to do things, or no, we're not going to do this, or you're submitting a request and they are denying you, you're going to remind them and put an email out to the team right after the IEP saying, please send me in writing my prior written notice so I fully understand the 7 parts of prior written notice, because pro tip, there are 7 parts. Here's the other thing that you want to do. Once your IEP is finished, if your team has any next steps, you want to make sure to submit in writing a reminder for your team, meaning you're going to send an email to all the team and say, hey, we talked about this. I want to make sure this is addressed, and who's going to take care of this issue, and when should I expect a district response? It's one of the most powerful things that you could do to advocate. So now that you know all this, let me ask you something else. Pro tip. Do you feel fully equipped at the IEP table, or are you leaving every single IEP meeting for your child with autism and you're like, this is terrible, this is frustrating, things are going sideways all the time, I am so upset? Here's what you need to know. If you want to make things better, then you need to change how you communicate with the team. Meaning, if you want to learn how to advocate, you have to adjust your method. And that's exactly why I want you to check out my one-day parent participation workshop. Inside my one-day workshop, it lays out how to communicate. It shows you how to write what's called a parent letter of attachment. It also shows you how to write what's called a parent report, which I highly recommend. It basically teaches you how to communicate in writing and how to speak like an advocate, because like I mentioned earlier, you've got a wealth of knowledge, you know your child best, and you've been on the IEP team the longest, and you're going to be doing this for a ton of years. So you might as well get the tools and the resources that you deserve. Grab that link in the description box below. So you finished the IEP, now what? Here's 3 things that you can do after every single IEP meeting so you can advocate like a pro. Number 1, expect IEP progress reports. What am I saying? I'm saying that periodically throughout the year, based on what your IEP says, you should be getting regular, meaningful IEP progress reports that talk about if your child is making progress or not. You're going to want to progress monitor and to make sure and to check how your child is doing throughout the year. Number 2, call a new IEP meeting if things are going sideways. What am I saying? I'm saying that so many times as a special education advocate, I would talk to parents and they were like, oh, I was waiting all year. Things have been really bad for a long time. And here's what I would say. Why didn't you call an IEP meeting? As the parent, you have the right and you have the procedural safeguards to ask for a new IEP meeting at any time. So you want to ask for a new IEP if your child is not making progress on those IEP goal progress reports I was talking about, if there's new changes to your child, if you want your team to review and consider information, and most importantly, if your team is talking about changing your child's placement or removing a service. That's exactly why you have so many rights, and I want to give them to you right now. And this brings us to number 3. Understand your IEP rights when it comes to discipline. So if your child has autism, more than likely they might be having challenges with sensory integration or emotional regulation or even executive functioning. And this is why so many students with autism struggle with functioning when it comes to behavior or discipline, all of those things. And you need to know all of your safeguards and how to protect your child. And that's exactly why I want you to check out this video that spells out tons of rules and tips so you know everything that you need to know when it comes to IEPs and rights and discipline for your child with autism. Make sure to grab that link in the description box below. So now you know what to do and how to do it for an IEP if your child has autism. Do you have a question? Put it in the link in the description box below and tell your story. Do you want me to do more videos or expand on more what I've talked about? Put it there too. Like and subscribe to get more videos like this in your inbox, and check us out on Instagram at Advocacy. Grab all those links below so that you can get the tools and resources and advocate like a pro. I'm April Rarig, your special education advocate. I can't wait to see you for our next video.